Commonly, people understand breathing to be taking in oxygen and breathing out carbon dioxide. Today we will look at the 3 steps of this process, which are pulmonary ventilation, external respiration and internal respiration. Firstly, the respiratory system looks like an upside-down tree and referred to as the bronchial tree. When we take a breath in, air enters the body through the nose or mouth, moves to the pharynx, onto the larynx, the trachea, which is a strong tube with circular rings of cartilage to prevent collapse. It then splits at T5 into the left and right bronchus. From there, it subdivides into the lobal bronchus, then to the segmental bronchus, and onto the bronchioles and terminal bronchioles. These structures form the conducting zone. Moving on into smaller structures now form the respiratory zone, and these are the respiratory bronchioles, the alveoli ducts, the alveoli sacs, and finally the alveoli, which is like a bunch of grapes at the end of the branch. It's at this point that the gas diffuses into the pulmonary capillaries. Gas exchange is the diffusion of oxygen from the lungs into the bloodstream and the diffusion of carbon dioxide from the bloodstream back into the lungs as a result of differences in partial pressure. This is external respiration. Air moves into the lungs when the pressure inside the lungs is less than the atmospheric pressure. Differences in pressure caused by changing lung volumes force air in and out of the lungs. Within the alveoli, it's the differences in pressure that cause the oxygen to diffuse into the pulmonary capillaries and carbon dioxide to diffuse out of the capillaries. Dalton's law explains that each gas exerts its own pressure, known as partial pressure, irrespective of the other gases present, while Henry's law states that the quantity of a gas that will be dissolved in a liquid is proportional to the partial pressure of the gas. The partial pressures determine the movement of oxygen and carbon dioxide between 1. the atmosphere and the lungs, secondly, between the lungs and the capillaries, and then finally, between the capillaries and the tissue cell. Once the blood moves on in the capillaries to the systemic system, again, it's the higher partial pressure and the gas solubility that determine the movement of oxygen from the systemic capillaries to the tissue cells and carbon dioxide out of the tissues back into the capillary bed to be returned back to the heart and lungs. The gas exchange that happens at this level is called internal respiration. The 3-step process of respiration is pulmonary ventilation between the atmosphere and the lungs, external respiration between the lungs and the capillaries, and internal respiration between the capillaries and the tissue.